Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/entitled people. In today's episode, my ex-neighbor wanted her lawn mower blade sharpened for free, but it gets worse. My brother wants to marry a 100% Karen. Entitled brother demands I thank him for cleaning my mess. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. My ex-neighbor wanted her lawn mower blade sharpened for free, but it gets worse. My ex-neighbor was a woman living alone, and she didn't like the fact that living alone meant taking care of stuff on her own. She also had a bad habit of getting her granddaughter to play with my daughter, and then she'd come up with an emergency and leave her granddaughter with me. She was supposed to be babysitting her. She would often try to get me or my husband to do various jobs for her. One example that comes to mind is when she decided that her lawnmower blade needed sharpened. I told her that I didn't think my husband knew how to do it since my father-in-law did it for us the last time it needed to be done. My ex-neighbor then told me since she was a single woman on her own, my father-in-law should do it if he was a gentleman. I kept telling her my FIL was busy and had projects of his own, and she got annoyed and wouldn't drop it. I then told her there is a local place that sells and services lawn movers and to get it done there. I even went as far as to calling the store and getting a quote from her because she told me she didn't know how to do it. It was $15 to get it done if you brought in just the blade and $30 if they had to remove it. I told her it would be easy with the right tools, and she told me it was men's work and demanded my husband do it for her. He refused, and she was mad at me for a few weeks because I wouldn't force my husband to do it. Your neighbor isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, is she? I might have taken a file to the front edge of the blade so it couldn't cut at all, but with entitled people like that, you never know when any interaction with them will turn into more stupidity. And if you do them a solid, it's just an opportunity for them to open the floodgates for more requests. Nicely avoided on your part. Can confirm. My MIL is like this. Neighbors do her a favor while she was laid up from a broken ankle. She lives in another city, so we weren't able to assist much, and her neighbor did some lawn cleaning for her, so she canceled her lawn mowing service to have her neighbor do it for free and then wondered why they didn't mow her grass. It sounds like the lawnmower wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but she wasn't far behind. Ugh, I would have smacked it with a rock and said we did our best. Surely after she'll never ask for help again. I live on my own, well, with 2 dogs, and I would never demand things to be done for me. Time for her to grow up and take responsibility for herself. And learn to be independent. She's an embarrassment. Man or woman, if you live alone, you need to do for yourself. Funny how people revert to old times of men's work or women's work when it suits their needs. Keep her mad at you so she avoids you. I have the opposite problem. I think my neighbor must have a motion detector on my toolbox. Every time I start some home improvement project, he seems to appear like a genie out of nowhere. I'm like, I get it, dude. You have a very extensive tool collection and you don't get to use it as much as you would like, but I have what I need to get it done, and I like to feel a sense of accomplishment sometimes too. Have your FIL do it, but charge her through the nose to have the blade put back on the lawnmower. Bonus points if you say, now. It's extremely unladylike to weasel out of payment for services rendered. You don't want to be known around the area as unladylike, do you? This is hilarious. I'm a single woman that lives alone. I don't want to do her so-called men's work. I have a natural black thumb and an inability to start a lawnmower. So I either live in apartments or I pay someone to take care of it for me. If she needs a man to take care of her, she should find her own. Next time she has an emergency? Gasp, so do you. You're just leaving. Bye. My brother wants to marry a 100% Karen. One night, my brother brings his fiancée and we were having a game night. Well, topics discussed were varied, but then the topic of ethnicity/heritage came up. Well, I look Caucasian, but my family is Mexican/Puerto Rican. I was raised in that lifestyle. So I politely say, people often confuse my ethnicity all the time. But I was recently told that I couldn't claim that as I am not fluent in Spanish. Well, bro's fiance chimes in, I totally see where they are coming from, because if you aren't fluent, then you really can't say that you are of that ethnicity. The comment came from my bro, and he said not all of us can claim we are German. Well, she started giggling and slowly raised her hand. To which I then fired back, oh. I didn't know you spoke German fluently. Her response was classic, looking totally confused. She said, I don't. She also likes to lecture people about texting at work but refuses to acknowledge her own words when caught doing it herself. I can't understand how people can honestly operate like that. I mean, how deep does the assholery has to run before they wake up? Always remember, Karen can do whatever, but don't you dare call her out on her shit. I don't like this comment. Let me speak to your manager. So, let me see if I follow this correctly. My parents were both German. I was born in Mannheim, Germany, but since I don't speak German fluently, I am not German? I feel for you. My SIL is the worst. She is a hoarder, but she has the audacity to lecture me on the benefits of homemade cleaning products. It gets like their brains are broken. These types of people are literally incapable of looking inward. No auto-reflection at all. Just looking outward. If they look inward, they won't like what they see. That's why they don't look inward. Heck, I'm white and I don't speak my ethnic language either. Oh wait, it's cause my family were punished for speaking a foreign language during the last World War. So racism took my language. It isn't an ongoing racism. Nobody accuses me of not being my race. This is a stupid metric that doesn't make sense if you think about it for more than 2 seconds. Family isn't erased when the decedents move. That is the truth. Also, I feel terrible for the loss you experienced. LOL, how deep is the assholery that has your brother wanting to marry this fool? Ugh, I have to work with a Karen and is also always trying to enforce different rules for herself. Oh, but everyone else has to behave how she wants them to. So, this is Murica, learn English or you can't claim the heritage if you aren't fluent in Spanish. Pick a lane, Karen. Can't have it both ways. Entitled brother demands I thank him for cleaning my mess. My 31F brother, 25M, has always been an entitled brat. He has lived in my house. My mom and I bought and renovated it for 5 years now. He didn't start contributing to the household bills until about 2 years ago, and he makes sure to throw that in mine and my mom's faces every month as if it's some big favor. He has always complained about living here and how miserable he is because he's treated so poorly. He's treated like a prince by my mom, and the house is such a mess. His room used to be our studio space where my mom and I kept our workspaces and supplies. I'm a designer and my mom is an artist. When he moved in, we turned our living room into a makeshift office for ourselves, so our supplies are kept on various shelving units in our living space. My brother has always complained about how cluttered and dirty the house is and how he hates living here, blah blah. I've told him repeatedly that if he doesn't like it, he doesn't have to live here. He said I should accommodate him instead, because he's family and family should respect each other. It's a small house and we were doing our best with what little space we have, but he says it's embarrassing that we don't even have a space for a couch and TV. We used to until he moved in. 2 months ago, he announced that he is being forced to move in with his GF because he can't live like this anymore because my mother and I are just so awful for asking him to help with the bills and have the audacity to have our workspaces in the living room. Since he informed us of this, he hasn't packed a single box and he refuses to give me any kind of time frame, but I overheard him telling his dad he expects to move out in September. Today I came home to a bunch of stuff, including kitchen items like sodas and snacks, stacked in my room and on my work desk, which had my laptop and my design drawings on the tabletop. I was confused and annoyed because I was afraid they had been crushed. I asked my mom if she did that. She told me it was my brother. I went to him to ask why the hell he did that and that I didn't appreciate him moving my shit and potentially ruining my work. He went off on me saying he made an executive decision to finally clean up. I laughed because he has his own bathroom and the largest bedroom and they're both filthy. He decided my mom's and my things needed to be allocated to our spaces and kept out of the communal spaces, the kitchen and dining area. His logic was since I'm the only one who consumes certain sodas and snacks, that they need to be kept in my room. None of his foods or drinks were taken out of the kitchen. Anything that he didn't deem worthy of being in the communal spaces, he just tossed into a pile on mine and my mother's desks and in our rooms. Mind you, his shoes, moving boxes, and bags are all over the hallway. My mom and I always have to step over his shit when we walk by his room and we don't move anything. I told him he needs to respect our things and our space. He said it's not for me to dictate. I said yes it is, it's my house. But he wouldn't hear of it. He screamed at me saying I had to thank him for cleaning my mess. And that I better apologize for being so ungrateful. I reminded him he's moving out, so why would he be so bothered about how my house looks? I told him I can't organize anything until he moves out and he lost his shit saying how dare you. I guess you can't wait for me to leave. I rolled my eyes and told him that not everything I say and do is a personal attack on him. He was screaming at me, saying that my power trip is my way of abusing him. I got fed up by that point and walked away to avoid losing my cool. It takes a very deluded person to make demands and set rules that never seem to apply to him in someone else's home. The entitlement. Edit 1. For those saying evict him, there's no need. I don't want to get into the whole history of eviction threats and ultimatums, but the gist is this: my mom loves her son too much to refuse him shelter. I don't understand it, but because I love her, I respect it. Plus, he's been angling to leave for a long time. Those are the only reasons I let him stay. Not to mention, I just finished grad school, so I am starting to save up for my own place. Edit 2. If, when my mom passes, the house will be 100% mine, hence why I refuse to lose my stake in it or sell it. Can you start the eviction process? I've been itching to do so for years. My mama has never had the heart to do it and I am not going to force her unless he becomes violent. He's come very close a few times. We almost did once, which is when he finally and reluctantly started contributing financially. At that point I'd get an eviction in process. Or hire movers to place his stuff in a moving vehicle for the dump. Don't forget to change the locks when you do get rid of him. Otherwise he'll just move back in when his girlfriend kicks him out. Once he's gone, you need to sit down with your mom and make it abundantly clear that under no circumstance will he ever be allowed to move back in. You need to reach that agreement. And do you know who will inherit your mom's share of the house? 'Cause it may be in your best interest to buy her out before your brother has any legal claim to it. It'll be 100% mine if, when she passes. And I planned to do that. After all he's put her through, I don't think she would ever let him back here. But just in case, I'm going to sit her down and have that convo. Tell your mom either he goes or you do. If you go, the house will be sold because you aren't using it. Your brother is a piece of work. Entitled brat pretty much sums it up, I'd say. Yep, pay the couple $100 to have him evicted. You seem to have a mom problem too. She is enabling your brother to act like the king of the castle. If this living situation continues, you're gonna resent your mom and the living situation really will be unmanageable. For a time, I did resent her, but when we talked it out, I could tell how much it pained her to live like this, and yet how painful it was to think of kicking her son out. Instead, I decided to no longer put up with his treatment of me, and since then, I have called him out on his BS every time I haven't let him skate by with his cruel treatment of my mother. He has cracked a little more and a little more until my abuse drove him to find a new place. It actually took way less time than I expected. Pack his stuff to the curb and be done with him. Give him a 24. He notice before you do if you feel kindly for a second or two. He's feeling out of control of his own life and is attempting to exert control over other people's life to prove to himself that he still exists and is a worthwhile person. This is delusional and not your responsibility to accept or tolerate. He is disappointed with himself, depressed, and lashing out. That is not your problem to deal with. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.